Welcome to Below the Surface, the podcast where we go beyond the small talk and dive deep into the conversations that matter.
From personal growth to the complexities of human behaviour, we explore the stories, ideas and experiences that shape our world without the fluff.
Expect raw, thought-provoking discussions with fascinating guests and plenty of insights to challenge the way that you think.
So if you're ready to look below the surface, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it. Hello, welcome. Who is Una Gaynor?
Hello, and thank you very much for having me here. It's a privilege and an honour to be here in this place, in this space, and pushing myself into corners that I really don't like. Who is Una Gaynor? I would say Una Gaynor is a work in progress, maybe an embodiment of love rising up.
Love that. So if we think back to past version of Una Gaynor, or is there anything that you think in particular from your past that would be relevant to the conversation today that would give us an insight into where you've come from?
I suppose there are a lot of different perspectives of me that are relevant to today. Well, they're all relevant. I suppose it just depends on what is ready to come out or what's ready to be shared. Ask the question again, as in, where do I come from? Or
so if we were to think about maybe something that feels important, that has been maybe a catalyst that has led you to push forward in your life. Has there been anything in particular?
I would say there's a series of catalysts. They've all built up over my life. I think I'm talking directly to Kieran here because I don't know him, so
that's okay.
I'm trying to endear him, you know. So definitely I would say my upbringing. I was one of 7 children in rural County Tyrone. A lovely place with incredible people, very spiritual people, I would say, very close to their roots in religion, of course, in Northern Ireland. And I suppose my parents were very religious, and I'm not sure strict is the word, but they had maybe high standards in terms of going to mass and how you're going to do in life, how the standard of a person that you should be in the world. But I think general to their generation, the person that you should be had a lot of external validations insofar as how you were in society, how you were perceived in society as opposed to how you were inside yourself. So emotional expression wasn't one of those things. It was really how you are outside rather than inside. And that propelled me into a world within myself that didn't serve me. And then it took me to the place where I am now, which is entirely inward. And you could say probably more selfish, but in a more beneficial way to everyone around me. So the more that I've been able to look inward, the more I've been able to serve outward.
Very good.
In a more balanced and fulfilling way for everybody.
And was there a particular time or reason when you realised that this way isn't serving me?
I definitely had a series of things. I suppose one of the most obvious ones is when myself and my husband were living in Dublin, and we had our daughter, who's now 16. And when she was 7 months, I had just gone back to work 1 week, and I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I went to the hospital, phoned me and said, "Oh, you've got your appointment this evening. Maybe you should bring your husband." I was like, why would I bring my husband to my appointment? That sounds really silly. You know, somewhere deep inside me, I know they're going to tell me something that I don't want to hear. But why would I bring my husband? Even still. So I was like, no, I should be going on my own. And then obviously they told me I had breast cancer. And I was like, what do you mean, cancer or just cancer? And they were like, there's really only one cancer. I know, but I was like, well, is it the bad one or the good one? They were like, look, they're all the same. It's just 1, 2, 3 or 4. So anyway, that was one of the days that changed my life. And also not just the only day that changed my life, insofar as I went on a journey then over the next 12 months anyway, in a form of series of operations. And then I ended up getting a double mastectomy and reconstruction, and then went back to my, in inverted commas, normal life. So the sooner I could get back to work, the sooner I could be okay. The sooner I could be back on that road to, you know, back in my job, back in life being normal. And then as that road was continuing, I realised that my world had turned upside down, and internally I was in a spiral.
So when you say normal, you're going by the perception of normal that was put onto you from your parents, is it?
Exactly what I perceived from society and my parents as a normal life in terms of...
And what can you give us an example of what that looked like, or
It was
what did it look like?
I think one of the biggest things for me was being a woman in the world and how you were supposed to exist as a woman in the world. So I only discovered this later on, I suppose, when I looked in at myself, and I realised that I did not like any of the aspects of what it was to be a woman in the world, insofar as we were supposed to be everything. We were supposed to be working, but we were supposed to be nurturing as well. So we were supposed to be home, and we were supposed to be earning a living, and we were supporting our husbands, but also we were not expecting any support back. So expect to be entirely independent, earn your own money so that you are safe, so that you can look after yourself, but don't expect to be supported by anyone else outside of yourself.
And do you think, was that like, you just thought that was a societal thing, or was that just something that every woman it thinks that they shouldn't get any
I
help
don't know.
back?
I don't know. I think lots of people everyone's different, and how their experiences in the world are different. So it's what I picked up from society, from the world I lived in. And
So
from
that was your
my parents.
perception of...
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was what your parents had taught you, is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
not solely my parents, but also society. So my mother is an extremely capable person, very strong, and held everything together at home, as well as going out to work. And
So you visually seeing that, you were like...
she was everything.
Yeah.
She was absolutely everything, as well as my dad was everything as well, but just in an entirely different way, more traditional, I suppose. He was he ran his own business, and he wasn't as present as she was. So she was a huge influence, and I admired her because she was incredible, and still is incredible. So yet there was something inside me that was just alone and lost, and what I would think would be every teenager's life.
Do you think your mum felt the same way? Do you think your mum felt alone and lost, but she was just...
That's a very good question, Kieran. I'm only discovering it now as my mother gets older and probably less well at that. Unknown to her, yes.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be something you talk about back then, like, would it? Like,
No,
you know, so
or
like,
even now. My mum might be slightly open to it now, but no.
yeah.
Being busy is her identity. Naturally enough, in all their generation, looking after house, children and so on. And if you sit down in the quiet and you're left with yourself, everything will come crashing down, including your body. So
had you to go back to that sort of a life then, like being busy, being able to fend for yourself, be an independent woman, earn your own money, work, you've just had cancer, doesn't matter, time to move on.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I did. The only thing that changed a little bit was cancer gave me the permission to make decisions for myself that were a little bit more gentle on myself. So my self-talk would be, I'm allowed to do that because I've had cancer. I'm allowed to decide that because I've had cancer. So the years went by where Ellen has started school, and I went back to work 4 days a week across the city and back and so on. And I just remember distinctly going to bed one night and thinking, there has to be something better than this. And also a friend of mine got engaged, and we went to their house up, another friend's house up near Carlingford. And I was driving back, on the motorway to Dublin at crazy, crazy speed in pure anger. And I remember I got home and I just stopped the car and I just started crying. And crying because I had to go to work the next day and I was absolutely exhausted. Why was I exhausted? I was exhausted because I'd physically went through all the things to do with chemotherapy and all that and surgeries, and I hadn't allowed myself time to process it all emotionally. So things just tripped along then to those single thoughts of there has to be something better than this before I went to sleep, to why don't we move to the West? Because we had a house that we could go to in the West. And I was saying to my husband, why don't we move to the West? And then he said, right, okay, you think we can go to the West? You see if you can get a job and then I'll move. We'll all move. And I went, okay, then I will.
Supportive guy.
And I just phoned a couple of opticians in the West, and they didn't give me a job of any kind at all, but I came off the phone going, right, that's a couple of days' work anyway. So I phoned Marcus, I've got 2 days' work anyway, how are you getting on with that? He was like, right, okay. So anyway, he was running his own business in Dublin, and he was struggling as well because the whole thing was just crazy. And then he just moved us all to the West, really. And that was my saviour. Mayo is sacred ground to me because it helped me live again, love again, laugh again, literally.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. And just going back, just before you were diagnosed with the cancer, what was were you living a very stressful life before that? And do you feel like with all the stuff you were kind of bottling up and keeping in and loads of stress, like, do you feel like that was a major factor in?
That's a very good question, because no, my life was not stressful in any way.
No.
I had a job that I didn't like as an optician. And all the rest of my free time was mine, really. I didn't enjoy working Saturdays as an optician, didn't really enjoy most of my days as an optician, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
But that's an emotional thing.
And were you conscious of how you were feeling? I know you said you weren't under much stress, or were you just kind of existing, or were you taking note of?
That's exactly it. I was just existing because I was existing in the parallel that was supposed to be normal life. And I had to be present and gratitude. My mother is an incredibly positive person and a real solution person who finds solutions. And so I walked through my life always being in gratitude and positivity. So people probably saw me as a very positive person. But inside, my mantra was just, I hate this. I used to wake up in the morning and go, not another day. How am I going to get out of this bed? I hate this day, this life. I don't want to do it. And then I would kick into your mum mode or adult mode. My thing is always get moving, and then I'm able to cope with my day. So, but the other thing was I loved my weekends. I would live for my weekends for getting to the pub and forgetting about it all. And I realise now, as I learned so much more, that I was just, numbing out just like everybody else. I'll be okay once I get to Friday. I can love my pint of Guinness, my packet of Tato, and everything was a bit better then. So I'd spend my weekends, pubs, eating out, and then my weeks trying to recover from all of that by going for my runs, going to work and going for my runs and just walking through life. I would say flatlining my way through life, not feeling anything except a small sense that inwardly I just was so fucking angry.
So the cancer was like a wake-up call, nearly.
Cancer was a gift, a wake-up call.
I've heard so many people say that. One guy even said to me before that cancer was the best thing that ever happened to him, believe it or not, because he completely just as you were saying there, that was your gift to show you that there was more.
I always say that cancer's the best and the worst thing.
You changed like your whole diet and everything since having cancer, didn't you?
I think always in my life I was changing my diet because I had such a bad relationship with myself when I was younger. I used to go through my day in school with no breakfast, 10 cans of Diet Coke and an apple for lunch.
10, like? Or
No.
is that just a...
No, that's just for a
Just being a bit dramatic.
Don't let the truth get in the way of the good story. No, we'll say 3 cans of Diet Coke, right? And an apple for lunch, or maybe an orange. And then I got anemic in school, and that meant I could have an orange and an apple because you had to have vitamin C.
You could have the two of them. Oh, yeah.
You're out of control.
Yeah, whoa, wild.
But ultimately, I hated myself. So I hated my body and I hated existing in it. Now when I look back at pictures, I was just lovely. But even when I look at the pictures, all I can see is the dislike for myself. So I walked through life that person until that time. And so all through my life, I was always shifting and changing what I was eating. And so that my promise to myself was, I am never going to be a big person because I don't like how that makes me feel. I already feel so awful in the person that I'm in that if I'm even bigger, I just don't want anything to add to that sense of myself. So I always looked after myself in terms of exercise, but also exercise, movement was always my way of feeling a little bit more free. And I understand now it's moving all the negative energy. Movement is basically shifting all that energy. So
if you want to talk us through moving to the West, I'm going to have to pause. Gavin, this mic keeps falling down. And it's literally like falling. So if you talk to us about when you came to the West and you were working as an optician, and because I worked with you, I'm aware that I know you don't like the word retired, but you gave up working at a very young age. So can you talk us through that journey of working as an optician, but kind of getting to the stage where you were like, I don't fucking want to do this anymore? What was that like?
it was a process. So I suppose if I go back to when we moved to the West and we had this beautiful life, it was like such a miracle, a change of life in that we had such a balance between work and space to be ourselves and be close to nature. And after a couple of years, even in being in the West and in a beautiful job that I was in, which I call the Carlsberg of optician jobs here in Westport with Clodagh McGovern. Thank you very much, Clodagh.
Shout out to Clodagh.
And beautiful people that I worked with there. And yet something still wasn't right. I was like, everything is perfect in my life, but something is following me around and I don't like it. And I was getting to enjoy all my lovely exercise and everything like that. And I was talking on the phone to my sister one day and she was like, Una, you've got to talk to this lady. I've been talking to her for 2 years. She's amazing. I was like, oh yeah, God, my husband could probably do with that. Yeah, he could probably do with that, all the talk and stuff. She was like, no, Una, it's you. It's you that needs to do it. And I was like, oh, right then, okay. So I was thinking about it. I thought,
So talk to this lady. Who is this lady?
I'll tell you about this lady now, yeah. So I had just been discovered that I was anemic all over again. Been anemic when I was 17, I'll say, or 18, in the depths of a horrible place in my life. And here I was again. I was like, well, after having cancer, everything I do, my body just keeps coming back to remind me that I am not in control of my body. I'm doing everything to keep myself healthy. Here I am, anemic. And anyway, my sister introduced me to this lady called Carmel Toomey, who is incredible. And she is a practitioner of this thing called motivational therapy, which is a version of getting to the emotions which are stuck in your body and releasing them. And her process is that as you are in conversation with her, she will tap into the emotion that is at the back of what your general conversation is, and then she will help you talk you through and do different exercises that help you release the energy within your body. And the idea is that all throughout your life, as you're having different experiences, if you are not expressing your emotions, not taught how to express your emotions, holding on to emotions and emotional experiences, they become trapped in your body in different ways. And eventually they will lead to inflammation, pain, injury, all sorts of things. And that is the basis of it all. So, as I said, I just become anemic and I started talking to her. And even in the first session with her, I was just casually talking and she would, for example, say, well, I'm sensing that at the back of what you're saying there is that you're angry. I was like, angry? No, don't think so. No, I'm not really angry. And then she would say,
angry?
Yeah, angry, me.
I'm a positive Polly.
Yeah, exactly. So she stripped away all my, positivity, and at the back of it all was this big mound of anger, which ultimately was the root of my entire cancer, really. And she worked loads on that, and all of the other things, the anger, shame, fear. The back of most things as well was fear of everything. I was scared of everything. But I had also come to that part of my life where if I was going somewhere, for example, the supermarket, I would go, right, what time are we leaving? What time are we going to get back from the supermarket? If I bumped into somebody, I'd be like, I'm actually being delayed now. What am I going? I was under no pressure whatsoever, but I was so, I suppose you could describe it as an anxiety, but I'm uncomfortable with the word anxiety because I feel it's a ball of unexpressed emotions all screwed up in one and given to somebody. You've got anxiety. Oh, dig a bit deeper, get a bit more curious. What's the back of it? It's actually usually fear at the back of most of it all. But so I suppose I discovered with clearing all this energy that in my upbringing and generally with everyone, as you have experiences in your childhood, you develop patterns. And then, so for example, you're in a situation where maybe okay, so take for example, I'm from a big family and say, for example, there's something happening in the family. There's lots of comes and goes, people play sport in and out, and your parents are overwhelmed. And maybe somebody gets shouted at. But as a bystander, I was 5th of 7, so I was very much an observer of the rest of the house. That's how you kind of got on. And I would observe my parents being cross at usually the boys, because they're always getting into trouble. And you go, okay, that's what they're doing and that's what's getting them in trouble. So I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to ever shout or, shout back or give bad manners because you get in trouble for that and I don't want to go there. So I shut part of myself down in that way. So lots of different patterns built up to where I suppose you're going through life trying to be this good person, not doing anything out of line, doing good in school, all that. Don't know where I'm going with all this.
But how did that impact you then in terms of you now, as you got older and you could recognize that you had all this fear and all this anger stuck somewhere inside in you?
It's like I described a second ago. So it was like a shadow following me around all the time, no matter how many positive mantras or, loving overtones I could give to myself. There was still an echo.
And what were you feeling? Were you feeling it in like a bad feeling in your tummy, or was it like...
I had eternal sinus issues, so I had permanent headaches.
Okay. There's always a sign, isn't there? Yeah.
So your body's constantly giving you messages. I also running for me was always a big barometer for how I'm feeling emotionally. Why am I running okay? Why am I not running okay today? Why am I slower today? Why is it heavy today? Why am I so sluggish today? And then also, injuries, your little injuries that you get, and also my stomach. So my stomach would be full of anxiety, full of knots. I had a couple of stomach ulcers back in the day when I was, smoking Marlboro and drinking a lot of Guinness.
Eating a lot of potato. But it's mad how you say that you can have that, because you were mentioning that, Kieran, the other day about like it manifesting, like emotions getting stuck in your body. Mm-hmm. And what was it you were asking about different sides of the body before?
Yeah, that was kind of going into like a past life thing. That was like your life now is on your right side. I think it is. Don't quote me on that. And your past life being on your left side.
Right.
So that was just kind of like it was a podcast or something I was listening to that.
Wow.
But it's interesting how you're able to say that you could notice these physical symptoms, but they were actually a symptom of something else, like your emotional state.
So we have a saying in our house, it's not the cheese. And it's literally to do with I had eternal sinus problems and always headaches, and you're cutting out this food and that food and the dairy
and you're
whatever.
going on the anti-inflammatories and the antibiotics, and you're not actually taking a heed of...
It's not even working. It doesn't even work anymore.
Do you know what I mean? Like antibiotics and all have their place and stuff like that. But like if something is consistently shown, there's there's an issue like that. Like,
It's a big
but
message.
it's very easy just to block that off, isn't it? And just get an
that's-
antihistamine or an antibiotic. And
Exactly.
And that's why you didn't take milk in your tea or anything, because no, my sinus.
Yes.
yeah,
So
It's not the
so
cheese.
it's actually time, you know, you can cut out the cheese and all the milk you want, and still you're getting the headache. And
I
you're
like
going,
that
"Oh."
saying. That's not the cheese. Yeah, I like that.
So my daughter gets very fed up and she's going, you know, she won't tell me any of her ailments now because I'll have it pinned down to whatever it is happening.
She'll be
in her
listening
life.
to this now and she'll be
I
like,
know.
Mom, I told you not to
I know,
mention
yeah.
me.
Sorry.
Sorry,
So anyway,
Elena.
it's not the cheese. So beyond the cheese, basically, if you have any form of inflammation in your body, there are going to be things, earthy things that are going to irritate it because you're inflamed. But it's doesn't have it makes your symptom worse, but it's not the cause of the symptom. So the ultimate cause is generally stored emotions that are unprocessed. Now, I'm no expert, by the way. This is just my experience. Just like to clarify that.
Disclaimer.
So beyond that, I suppose then I did a course in energy called GeoLove Energy, and did.
Before you go there now, sorry.
sorry.
When you actually decided, fuck this, I'm going to stop working. If we
yes.
think, yeah, geez, you're running ahead there, Una.
Sorry.
If you think about, if you can explain the process of that, because a lot of people in this day and age, it's like you get a job, it doesn't matter if you like it or not, you have to earn your keep. And a lot of people in society wouldn't make a leap like that, or a leap of faith and be like, do you know what, I'm going to listen to myself, I'm going to do right by me, and I'm going to leave my job. And how did you deal with that internally, I suppose, mentally and emotionally? How did you just know that everything was going to be okay?
I didn't. Or I did and I didn't. So I had a real struggle with leaving my job insofar as, so I made everything good in my job. I had a lovely job and I only worked 3 days a week. Still, the shadow was following me around. So I had to get honest with myself and start asking myself a few questions. So everything to do with energy is to get curious. You have to keep asking yourself questions. Stop looking outwards. Stop blaming other people. Look inwards. So I come to, right, why am I hating my job? Why is it? And one of the problems was I was a professional, an optician, considered a good, well-paid job that was secure and safe and provided for my family. So there were so many things to be grateful for. But I had the conflict of, this is all so good and I'm so grateful, but I don't like it. So the part that I struggled with was saying, I don't want this, I don't like it, because that conflicted with being grateful. So I had to be okay with, they're both real. They both exist. You don't like this and it's not for you, and you're also grateful. And that's a really good place to get to in your life. So within my job, I had to process a lot of the anger around why I was there in the first place, and the things that I didn't like about the job. And then once I processed them, I was able to start saying to myself, or my higher self, thank you for bringing me the perfect solution to being grateful for my job, and also moving on from it, knowing that this is a chapter in my life and knowing that there's other great things to come. So eventually it was out of my control. I walked into work one day and I was like, I actually can't do this anymore. And then I just went away. You know, I just gave up my job. I had no idea what was coming next, but I just knew that it was outside of my control. I knew it was time to leave. And there was a lot of uncertainty there and a lot of bumps to get along the road. One of those big bumps was being okay with somebody else supporting me, being my husband supporting me. And that was a big thing. That was a thing for me to get over, not so much him, but me. And all the fears and insecurities and worthiness, self-worth was one of those, the biggest things that I had to get to grips with in terms of being okay with my identity as a female and thinking that it was okay. So I suppose I had a sense in my head that being at home was a failure, not keeping a job was a failure. So my sense of failure was huge. And I had to express that. One of the most difficult things that people find is they feel if they express negative emotions about themselves, that they become real. So if someone were to say, I'm really scared of that, or I'm such a failure because of this, that becomes a reality, when in actual fact it's the opposite. Once you express it, you've set it free, and then you fill it up with another positive affirmation about yourself. So you've left a space within yourself for the positive. So it doesn't matter how many positive things you say if you don't. So it's like a rope, and you're sliding along the rope, but you're going to hit knots. And if you don't untie the knots as you go along, you're going to stay there. You're going to stay stuck. So at each knot you come along, you have to set it free, and then you get to slide along.
So in terms of that, you're saying like positive affirmations and all of that. And like I suppose you said there that you've gone on and you've done a course and all of that. But we'll just say somebody who, maybe I'll use the term toxic positivity.
Yes.
Maybe if somebody was feeling like, well, this is a load of shite, you know, looking in the mirror and telling myself I love myself when that's not actually how I feel inside. So how can you counteract that of knowing that, okay, I need to be kinder to myself and talk more compassionately to myself, but yet at the same time you have that part of you that's kind of like, I don't fucking believe what I'm saying at all.
That's a very good point. So, and that is crux of it all, and it's the same as when you're trying to manifest something and you're trying to be really positive, what is it that's preventing me from getting there? And it is the friction, and it's the knots in the rope. So those positive overtones and loving mantras can only do so much because of the stagnant energy that's within you, that is the emotions that are stuck there, or the beliefs even, the beliefs that are behind the emotions. So you have to express those beliefs. You have to identify them. You have to become familiar with going, I'm fear, and then you have to get more curious. What is the fear?
Even writing them down, like
absolutely.
That's why people say journaling is so, because you're just taking what's stuck inside you and putting it out.
Exactly.
So you're releasing it. It's a form of a release, really, isn't it?
Exactly,
like,
it is a release, and
to just get it, and you can see it on a page, and you can burn it or whatever you want to do with it. Then throw it in the bin and.
Exactly. But also as humans, we're all stuck in our logical brain because that's what we've been taught. So you have to get everything that's circling around in your brain. Again, it's that term of anxiety. What is anxiety? It's thoughts that are just circling and stagnant in your brain. And behind those thoughts, there's emotions and beliefs. And they're all tied up together. So why am I having this emotion now? It's because you believe you're unworthy. Why was I in such a panic to get out of the supermarket to get home when I'd wanted to get out in the first place? It's because I felt like a failure, or I feel unworthy. Behind it all, there's a belief, and that belief has caused you to have a pattern. And
did you have so just for someone who might be angry now and just feel like they don't know how to release it, did you have a specific process to release the anger? Did you have
one of the processes was actually just going for a walk in a forest and screaming out, I am so fucking angry.
I've heard that one before. I've heard where people go into their car and just scream like to the top of their lungs until they just can't scream anymore.
Yeah. So you're transferring the energy that's stuck in your body and you're making it into a different energy, so outside of your body, and that's a release. And once you release it, you fill it up with something more loving, just a loving light. You can feel a loving light coming in and filling it up.
So how do you know what type of release is needed for each type of emotion? Or is there a difference?
There's lots of different ways of releasing the energy. I suppose one of them is getting familiar with your energy centers, which are your chakra, and realizing where your different energies become stuck a lot of the time. So for me, I had permanent sinus problems, and that was to do with my third eye chakra. And your third eye chakra involves, your thoughts about yourself, your thoughts about the world, and your brain that gets in the way of it all. So I had to do a lot of clearing in that chakra. So you will feel in your body, wherever the pain is, that's the message. Wherever the pain is, that's what's waiting to be released. If you fall over and hurt your wrist, there's a message in every part of your body. Like if you hurt your back, that you're maybe having an issue with support. If you hurt your wrist, some kind of movement, you're unable to move forward, or you're unable to grab something, or you're unable to let something go. It's all a message. So it's all about getting familiar with your body. And Louise Hay is one of those people.
That was the one I was listening to. She's brilliant.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Brilliant.
So there's just lots of different things you can listen to. The guy I love is called Oliver Nino. He's called the Spiritual Activator, and he has a really good new book called, I think it's called what to do before bed, and it's all about clearing your energy from the day. So this is one of the big things in my life that I wish I knew as an optician. So we have energy centers throughout our body, and as we go through life, we have certain different ways of absorbing energy, but one of the personality types is that you absorb other people's energy. So you have to protect your energy centers every day. You also have to clear them from all the negative energy that you've absorbed.
And that should be a daily process to clear.
Yeah, I mean, I would generally do it at times. I would have done it about 5 or 6 times a day.
And what would you do? Oh, it's probably depending on what kind of energy you need to clear, is it? Or would you just have a...
So I would visualise, he uses a sword to actually cut energetic cords that you're connected to other people with, but I actually visualise a flame all around my body. Like I'm fire resistant, but I have a flame all around my body, so I'm burning all energies that are impacting me negatively, and then they all fall to the ground in ash, and then I fill myself up with a protective light, and then with a shield as well, so that in the likes of going to a supermarket or a concert, that you're not absorbing everybody else's energies.
And you can feel the lift in your energy when you do that process.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you fill yourself up with light to...
Yeah, I've heard of
to
the light.
protect
Okay,
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of the bright light.
I mean, I'm just talking around in circles here, not
That's
actually
okay.
saying anything very clear. But
Can you tell us about how much of a super duper manifester that you are? So if we think about logically, okay, you left your job, but then after that, I just know that there'll be listeners thinking, but how did you survive? How did you not work? How did you support your family? Obviously, you mentioned that you were leaning on Mark, but if we think about, okay, would you consider the life that you live now or the life that you lead now, do you feel more fulfilled now? And what have you done to actually get you to that place where you can say that, okay, I'm actually living the best version of my life now?
Okay, so I suppose there's so many facets to this as well. Number one is a thing called pattern interrupt, where you interrupt your patterns. So when I left my job, I was in a position where I couldn't afford to not be in my job. That's the truth. We made it work, but I knew I would have to find something else. So every time I was in a bit of a slump, so I was in a great place because I have a lot of free time. You can do lovely things for yourself when you have free time, but also, like the shadow that followed me around, the things haunted me, like, how are you going to survive? You know, the fear of not having money, and how am I going to support myself? So I had to interrupt my patterns of thought. So anytime I could feel the shadow following me, I'd have to get my journal out and journal, what is it I'm feeling right now? What is it? Get curious, dig deeper. Why? What do you mean fear? Fear of what? Fear of what? And then you'll tap into different aspects of your life that you didn't even know were there. Then what do? You fill yourself up then with loving light and with intention. So a lot of people talk about manifesting, and I feel a lot of manifesting is just simply intention. What is intention? It's making a request and then letting it go. So I set an intention, I would go to bed. So one of the most important things to do at night time is to clear yourself of all the negative energy that you have absorbed during the day, be it in the supermarket, at work, wherever. You clear yourself of all the negative energy, you fill with light, and then you set your intentions. Because the most powerful time of your day is when you're sleeping. You can literally manifest your entire life during sleep. It is so convenient and very effortless. So before you go to sleep, you need to clear yourself of the negative energies, because otherwise you will wake up with negative sense. So you clear yourself of the negative energies, fill with light, and then you set the intention as though something has already happened, like it's already in your life. So thank you for bringing me the perfect job and the financial freedom to live my life exactly as I'm supposed to, exactly as the highest version of myself, or something like that. And then you believe it.
But how do you just believe it, though? That's what I'm saying. It's
You
like,
just have to keep doing it, don't you?
you keep doing it, but you address the knots in the rope. Every time you're hitting a knot, I'm saying that and I don't believe it. For flip's sake, you have to get out of the bed. You have to waken up and you have to go, why do I not believe that? Why do I not believe that I'm not worthy? I'm not worthy. Why would I believe I'm not worthy of that? Because.
So you're just getting the knots out all the time.
Exactly. You dig deeper and you dig deeper and you get curious all the time. You keep asking yourself. No one can answer the questions except you. You just need to keep asking the questions. Why? Write it down in the journal, get it out and fill it up and go, that's not even a truth. A lot of the things we're carrying with us are not even our beliefs. They're our parents. For example, all the money things, which we all know. What are your actual beliefs behind money? Do you believe that people who are money aren't actually very nice? Do you believe that earning money is going to be really hard? Or do you believe that money is a free-flowing energy that is available to anyone? Do you look around the world and go, why is she able to do that? Or one thing we're very good at is counting other people's money. Look at her, she's got that job, they've got loads of money. How do you know? How do you actually know what they're sweating about at night time?
But that's a good point with the car. That's something I've heard before is like, you know, we can make a judgment on someone who's building a big house or buying a flash car, and it's like, oh, look at them, they must have loads of money. But the only thing that tells you is how much now they're in debt because they've spent that money on that car.
Yeah.
Or that, sorry, Gavin, this is not a personal attack. Or the big house. Do you know what I mean? It's all perception. It's like we don't actually know how much money that person has. But what you do know is, okay, yes, they've built a big house, but now they're in potentially debt of that amount.
Well, it's all assumption. You're assuming everything about their life. You don't know a single thing about them. You don't know what sweats they're having going to bed at night. And who cares? Because who cares? It's not you. All you should be looking at is you. What is your perception of what you deserve? The support you deserve. The support you deserve comes down to everything, including the universe. What do you think the universe thinks that you deserve? It's exactly what you're thinking inside. So you need to change how you think about what you deserve.
In terms of the manifestation then, you know, you have that law of attraction and all of that. Now, my stance on the manifestation is I don't believe that you can just say it out, oh, universe, bring me this, and do nothing in terms of actions to try and get you to the place that you want to be. Mm-hmm. Would you agree, or what's your stance on that?
Absolutely agree that manifestation is lots of different steps and lots of different aspects. Number one is getting rid of the negative energies. That's step number one.
So loosening the knots, that's the...
Exactly. Yeah. And the second one is setting your intention and letting go. And the third one is taking inspired action. Looking out for the signs that the universe is giving you. If you go 11-11, oh, I'm doing everything right. Everything's going 11-11. Yeah, that means everything's... No, 11-11 means you're on the right road, but you need to take inspired action. So...
Just a zoom in there.
Oh, yeah, the rest 11-11. So you need to really be clear about what you'd like, where you'd like to be and what you'd like to be in your life, or what you'd like to have in your life, sorry, and then take inspired action to get it. So... You know, they say if you want to get a nice car, hang out at a nice car sales place, and you know, feel the energies of what it would feel like when you have that car, and know that it can be yours.
That comes back to like us doing the podcast. When we put the intention of we wanted to do a podcast. We put the intention out there, and then all of a sudden, Austin lets us have this place, and then we meet Gavin, and like everything just started to kind of, once we put that intention out there, everything else just kind of started to come around, and like we're here today now, we're talking to you as well.
Yeah,
you know
there definitely was like synchronicities in that we were kind of talking about it as if, oh my God, like imagine we did that and we were nearly living the feeling of doing it, and then all of a sudden, like you said, it was just like one thing after another. Oh, I wonder, is there anyone that does podcasts around here? Do a search. Gavin comes up. Do you know? And it was just like, they all very, very easily kind of slotted into place. But I think would you say that's because we actually believed that we could do it?
It all started with that intention of us actually putting it out there, that we actually wanted it in the first place. And
100%.
Yeah.
And the intentions are much more powerful. The greater the number of people that are doing it, they call it an energy container. So if you're a container, for example, doing a big meditation, say you're trying to do a world healing and there's a big group of 350 people, the power that you will feel if you're in the middle of that meditation is extraordinary, and that's the power of a container. So the pair of you were in a container together, so you doubled the power of your intention.
Yeah, that's unreal. Now, a lot of people would say this is a load of woo-woo waffle.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I was that woo-woo waffle person, as in I had that look on life as in, oh God, she would do your head in with all that stuff. And I actually, my lovely sisters, I love you, but my sisters were all into all this kind of spiritual stuff and manifestation long before I was. And I used to look at them and go, well, if I am anything like them, I am not getting into this. Like, they're just nuts. So I turned up definitely as a skeptic, as always, skeptical in everything in life, real skeptic, and completely sarcastic. Great crack in a room, but I took everybody down with me. Look at look at her, look at her. And really, even look at myself, I'm such a waste of space. Where was I going with that? Sorry, I was a skeptic, yet there was this small, tiny part of me that would kind of peek in. I wonder what she is doing in there. And that's your subconscious going, a part of you knows this is real. A part of you know there's some truth in this. But our human brains have shut it all down over generations.
Was there a specific thing that happened that you were like, oh my God, this stuff is fucking real?
Ooh, lots of different things. Most recently, we've just bought a house in Tormakeedy, and that was a manifestation from maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, of the house that we absolutely dreamed of on the lake.
And did you do like? Did you manifest it visually, colours wise, or?
Well, I knew the exact house. Sorry, I won't go into all the details, but anyway, I knew the exact house, and it was going to be our dream house, and then it all came together in a way that was kind of unbelievable. So that was amazing,
But you even being here today has been a bit of a manifestation.
I'm not sure I manifested this, by the way, but
You did.
Somebody's
You
given
did.
it. Somebody's given it to me as a means for me to step
Subconsciously.
forward, right? So this is, I as I said to Maureen, I am just not the girl who even liked going to communion at mass because I was so terrified of not finding my seat in the way back. I am not somebody who would ever speak up in class, put up my hand, or even vocalize anything. I can't even tell a joke in a room if it goes really badly wrong. So. I am not the person who should be shouting down this mic, which I think is what I'm doing now. So I know
That's just a limiting belief there, Una.
it is, Maury.
Oh, you get your journal out.
So I am here. Honest to God, I can't believe it.
But in
It's
this house where we are, we're in Annam Cree.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, you had, yeah.
I was pronouncing it wrong.
What were you calling Annam Croy?
Yeah, I don't cry. So sorry about that. Maureen told me about this place a long time ago, and the minute she told me about that, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be doing something there. I don't know what it is." So that was one of those things. I should say, you see, part of your energy work is where you start to listen to yourself, to your intuition, and that's part of your energy centers as well. By opening up your energy centers, you will hear differently, see differently, speak differently, and you start to change your patterns of thought. So different things come into your life because there's things that have been around you all along, but because you haven't been in their frequency or vibration, you haven't latched onto them. So all those opportunities were probably around you all along, but you didn't see them. And they always take that analogy of, oh, I'm going to get a new car, it's going to be a Mercedes, and then all you see is this Mercedes, everywhere's Mercedes.
Everywhere, yeah.
That's actually called the reticular activating system, the RAS in your brain, where like that, it's based on our whole life is a lie, supposedly, that because we're just living a certain reality or a certain perception of what we see, but there's so many different scenarios going on around us all of the time. But like that, your RAS is just focused on that one thing. Like you
Oh,
said,
yes.
if you're wanting to get a Mercedes, you're not now seeing all the Audis that's around because you have your RAS tuned into, I
Yes.
want a Mercedes.
Yes.
But when you change the frequency or the tuning of your RAS, you can then, you start to notice, oh, fuck, like all these things are here all the time, but like that, you didn't see them before because you had like tunnel vision on that one thing.
Yes.
It is wild though when you think about that,
It
that
is.
there's so many different stories going on. Or even, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I remember saying to my mother before, I feel like the world just revolves around me, like, because we're all living our own individual story. But that is kind of true. Like in your world, the world is revolving around you and the story and your truth that you see. But it's like for everybody else and for everything else, it's completely different.
But I think you've just said something that's amazing. There are two things. Number one, when you're manifesting, because when people say to me, oh, how did you do that? Or I'd love to do this, or I'd love this to come into my life. I'd say, well, did you ask? Like, no, I just assumed, if it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be. If it was supposed to be, you need to ask first. How's the universe going to know if you haven't even said it? So, that thing of last thing at night, say what you want. It's tapping into the frequency of it. You need to ask and ask again, and then also let it go.
Yeah, there was an analogy that I was listening to on a podcast where when you're asking for what you want, it's like going to a restaurant and asking for your food. So if you ask for your food, you expect your food to come. So it's meant to be the same.
True.
So when you ask for what you want, you just have to relax and expect. Like, you don't be sitting at the table, well, unless it's like been an hour and they still haven't brought your food out. You don't when you order, you don't be like, where's my food?
True.
You just sit there and you
wait for it to come. Yeah.
And they were saying that manifestation is the same. You ask for what you want, and then you wait until you
So
receive
then,
it.
like Kieran is saying, you expect it to come. You just have to trust that it is going to come. So then if you kind of have that voice in the back of your head being like, oh, but how can I just trust this? That's when you untie the knots.
You untie the knots, yes. But also that inspired action is really important. It's like Alcaraz being a Wimbledon champion. He doesn't lie in bed every day and go, thank you for being a Wimbledon champion. He gets up and he goes training and plays tennis every day and pushes himself. So you have to take action in direction of your inspired goal. So don't expect everything to just come along. Do all the things with the belief that it's going to happen, and then expect it to come along.
That's the best explanation I've had of a manifestation. Like, I've listened to a load of different strategies and stuff, but the one that you've described there has really been the best one I've heard now. Yeah.
You have to get up and play the tennis.
Yeah.
You have to practice. Yeah.
And just as you said, like, just releasing all the negative stuff first, and just allowing for, that's good. Like that.
And do you ever like try and sit and visualize what your life will look like, or what different scenarios will look like? Do you try and see the image?
There's the visualization, but more what I do is I bask in the emotion that I will feel when I get there, which is what you hear all the time. How am I going to feel when I have all that money? But there's two things. When I visualize having all that money, it's not just a feeling of money, to be honest. It's a feeling of love. It's a feeling of this love that is so bright that it literally emanates out, feet beyond me. And it just so happens that there's money in there.
So sorry to interrupt, but if you were, now I've kind of completely changed the train of thought, but anyway, if you were to try and give skeptics, from somebody who used to be very skeptical to this, if you were to try and give somebody, or anyone who listens to this, some words of wisdom to maybe, if they wanted to try and embody some of this, what would you say would be? I know you've talked about journaling and untying the knots, but if we were to try and give like a bit of a roadmap into trying to maybe manifest things or create their own life in the way that they want, what would you say?
My first question would be, why are you here? If you're such a skeptic and you already know something different to me, why are you here? And the answer is because something in your unconscious knows that there's a glimmer of something within this that you know that feels right. And the second would be, you already know. You already know. Start asking yourself some questions. What is it about myself that feels a bit off? What is it in my body that feels a bit off? What is it in my mind? What's the thing that's on repeat within me? And you already know. And it taps into your instincts. Something that you're hearing within yourself. Something that you keep saying out loud or inside to yourself. Or something that you're seeing that doesn't feel right. And you will know.
Interesting. What is on the cards for the future of Una Gaynor?
Oh, I know there's something very special in the house that we're going to live in. And I have a sense of freedom that is very liberating. And I also know that I have a lot of work to do. What is that work? Doesn't actually feel like work. It's, I'm talking very cryptically here, but I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but I know it's to do with expanding energetically and activating within others what I've activated in myself.
Ooh, nice.
So essentially teaching people how to do this.
Um,
Just putting words into your mouth here.
I hope you say yes.
I'm not. I wouldn't even say the word teaching. I would say making people aware of their abilities, of
Nice.
what's within you.
So every single person is capable of tapping into this.
Every single person has the ability to be beyond happy. You just have to reprogram your unconscious, which is a really big job, but you only have to do 1% every day. All you need to do is keep turning up. And every time it's hard to turn up, it's because there's a knot to untie. And that's okay. Because every little knot, there is that saying with the man that I've been taught by, and it's change yourself, change others, change the world. And that happens one person at a time. And the person that you work on first is you. And slowly you impact the next person beside you. And you light them up with how you are. Not what you say, how you are. The energy that you emit into the world is like a beam. And we've all got it.
Love that. And just, it's not the cheese. Una, thank you so
Brilliant.
much. This has been an amazing conversation. Like,
Unbelievable, yeah.
we could sit here for hours on end talking to you, but
I am so chuffed
unfortunately,
because really, like, what have I just said?
loads of stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
this has
honestly.
been-
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's been
incredible,
amazing.
Thank you
incredible.
very much. And
Thank you.
Yeah, we might have to get you on again to like talk through more of this, because I'm sure, like, I know we'd love to talk to you more about this and go into more stuff.
Great. I
But
can't
Yeah.
wait to see what's going to happen.
yeah, excellent. Thank you so
Let's go.
much.
Good night.
God bless.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what you thought of this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.